Okay, so sample schedule for the day. We have some ideas laid out there. We're going to get into them one by one. Now, first thing to say is that you can do this in 3 days. That might be ideal. You could do it in 2 days, but if you only have 1 day, you could also do it that way. I'm going to say the advantage to doing it 3 days is that you create the self-selection process.
Yes.
So if I say, all right, everybody, come back tomorrow at 4 o'clock with this assignment completed, and then you had 30 kids for 15 positions, and on day 2, you only have 22 kids, 8 of them self-selected out, making your final choice a lot easier. So that's the advantage of a multi-day thing. Also, that reveals to you, do they have the skill that you're gonna need showing up every day, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna just talk about a number of the sessions. Now, you already talked about this, Tyrell. You got you signed in, you walked downstairs, and tell us about this sort of first thing that happens.
You already got a team up in front of you, with the presentation behind them, and we're talking about, I think they did start off with the games, icebreakers. So basically, we all got in a circle and we did a name game. We did a game where we all had to get up and move around. And then once we felt, ready and warmed up a little bit, like, okay, we can be a little bit more relaxed, that's when we started, my bad, I'm going a little bit ahead.
No, that's fine.
But
another part of the intro is all that framing stuff. So you loosen them up, you give them some games, some raps, and those are things they're going to need later. But then you say, hey, and we often talk about our faith. This is a Christian ministry. It is welcome to everyone, and we are Christians. You don't have to be a Christian. We always kind of cover those things in there, so everybody, again, no surprises later. You lied to us. You pulled a trick on us. No, we're going to tell you.
I think we forgot one thing.
Okay, you go for it. What? Music. Oh, okay.
There should be music. There should be some type of atmosphere when they walk into the room.
And you said it.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna squiggly it.
He's gonna squiggly. Yeah. So there should be some type of atmosphere when they walk in the room. Otherwise, you'll have a whole bunch of teens who think they're cooler than everybody in silence, and they don't want to talk to anyone because it's just awkward and it's corny. So you got to have that atmosphere, and that music helps in the future. It helps loosen us up a little bit.
So this whole thing, it can be as quick as 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. Just get them riled up, keep going, and then you stop. Now, the cool thing about this session is that I bring it back twice a day, every day. All right. So they always know we're coming back to the theme or the rap or the song, and by day 3 they're singing it themselves. They know it well. And one of the things we do during the framing is we say, all right, we have to pick 15 teens out of 30 teens. Yes. So here's a trick or a tip for you.
Okay.
Volunteer. Raise your hand. If we need someone to come up on stage, be the one that gets raises their hands because we got spies.
Yes.
All over the room with little note cards writing down who's willing to make a fool of themselves, to step out.
Yes.
All right?
I've been in both roles. I've been spied on and I've been a spy. So, we've been looking for teens that's energized, the teens that's willing to get out of their shell, the teens that's, wants to get out of their shell, but they just need a little nudge. I'm looking at all of that. So we can, think about all those things when we're actually choosing a team. And that goes back to, choosing who best serves New City and who best serves your ministry and what your ministry can best serve.
Yeah, who your ministry can best serve. Okay, so then oftentimes on day 1 we do a professionalism skit. And what we do is there's like a PowerPoint presentation. You have a presenter, and if you have some experienced teens, you use them. And you talk about showing up on time, and you talk about whatever your culture's version of professionalism in the workplace is. Hit those 4 or 5 or 6 points, but to make it fun, we do role plays of like, okay, here's what not to do. Yo, what's up? I was late, And
so, like, do I get my paycheck tomorrow, or?
Yeah.
You were like, wait, what?
So you can have fun with what not to do, and the kids will laugh and so on. And that'll come back later in the selection process too. Then you go straight into how to interview, and again, there's a lot of good stuff on Google. how to interview. And you can just see 10 main points of, look people in the eye, don't talk too long, don't talk too short. Never get into personal stuff. Don't put a dig into your last boss.
Have questions.
Have some questions about the organization.
Yeah, and things like that. It was really informational. Like, it's things that I still use to this day. I've never been scared to go into any interview that I've had at any job because of the things that I was taught.
Yeah.
During my tryout. So then that's something that you learn even if you don't get the job.
That's right.
You still know how to interview even if you don't get the position.
Yep. And I always tell people, be able to tell me 3 strengths at least.
Mm-hmm.
And seriously, I could tell you 10 of my strengths. I could tell you 12 of his strengths.
Mm-hmm.
You should also have a couple of your own weaknesses.
Yeah.
That and there's always tricks of how to make your weakness sound like a strength, but I think some real vulnerability is appropriate.
Yes.
And we're not trying to hire perfect teenagers, right? We want to get kids with potential, so it's okay. So anyway, you come up with your own list of how to interview, but then you do the role play. Here's how not to interview, and you go over a couple things. It's very fun. Okay, so then I would, oftentimes at that point, I would bring back the game or the fun or the song, or you might play a game on what were the 6 things of professionalism, or what were the 5 points on how to interview, and you can make it fun.
And that's when the incentives go in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to, I don't want to go ahead, but we're going to talk about Bring Magic, but incentives is one of them. And us showing the culture, we want to do Bring Magic in their ITO. So we have incentives to make sure that they're paying attention to everything that's happening. So
Yep. So during the games, they can win prizes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then at the end of day 1, which is probably going to be this Bring Magic session, and there's detailed information on Bring Magic in your folders, and that what you want to do is you want to do a pretty good session on Bring Magic live using teenagers. I often use a drum set as a demonstration for each of the 10 steps of Bring Magic.
Yes.
We're not going to teach Bring Magic in this one because there's other videos to teach you Bring Magic.
Yes.
But you want to teach it in a participatory way. So you're not just lecturing, you're showing, you're involving the kids.
Yes.
I hand out the cards, you get the B, I get the R, and then they have to explain what it is and rearrange and organize themselves into a coherent word, and we make it fun.
Yeah, and we've been referring to everyone as kids, but I think we mean the teens.
Yes.
The teens. So this is mainly, well, we know. This is for the teens.
So we're talking about hiring, teens. It could be 13, 14, whatever your culture is, what the hiring age is.
Mm-hmm.
And also just with that, oftentimes it could be an internship that's unpaid, and there's prizes like bicycles or notebooks or whatever your culture would deem a great prize, or it could be hourly, or it could be whatever works for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of the day, you want to give an assignment, and it's going to be, and I'm going to ask you what yours was.
Okay. All right.
But the assignment is, all right, go home, and I want you to devise a lesson that you're going to bring back tomorrow to teach some of your teen colleagues. Maybe 4 or 5 kids will be in a room with you, and you'll have 5 minutes to teach how to dribble basketball, how to do football.
Yes.
How to play the drums, how to babysit your little brother, how to sing this song that's in your culture, whatever it is. But you have 5 minutes, and you really have to bring a lot of the elements of Bring Magic into that lesson. And then what this does is it sets up the next day. Did they prepare?
Yes.
Are they willing to receive feedback?
Yes.
Are they willing to, and we'll get to that in a minute. But what was your, do you remember?
Yes. So luckily, I was on both ends again. But when I first was getting hired into New City Kids, I was getting hired in as a tutor. So I wasn't given an assignment to teach. I was given a study guide to study. And then I had to come back and take a quiz what the theme of that year was going to be.
Okay.
So I did a quiz. And I didn't even do that well. But they seen something in me. I don't know what it was. But so I did that quiz. But I also have interviewed teens who were trying to get in the music program, and what we were looking for is after we've taught Bring Magic, how much of Bring Magic can they include in this one session? Yeah. And it was the team.
And we'll get to that in this one.
Okay, yeah.
So don't want the cat out of the bag yet.
We don't want to do too much. Sorry.
So then at the end of the day, you give them their assignment, you set their expectations for tomorrow, what time they need to be there, whatever. Now, you can put all of the next day, you could put everything into the next day, or you could spread it out over a couple more days.
Yes.
Or you could do the how to interview, you could do that on day 2 as well. But day 2, they come in, same thing, you gotta ask them to bring some stuff, ask them to, if it's appropriate to ask them to dress a certain way. You just wanna see if they can follow some directions.
And the benefit of having 2 days is some teams might not have brought some things that were needed on the first day. They might have forgot because, again, this might be their first job and they're not used to bringing things. So the second day, they'll have time to bring whatever they didn't bring the first day. And also the teams will be a little bit more loosened up because they've gotten a day to really process what happened at New City, and they know what to expect when they come in that second day.
So you know what's first is the music, the games, the hype, getting those kids up and out of their seats. Don't let them sit down. They should not sit down.
No, keep that culture. Keep that culture.
Yes, we want high energy. That's what we're going to expect from them all year. So we start on day 1.
Yes.
And then we do the role plays. After kind of an intro session, they go to role play, and somebody's got to go first. And we have a rubric or an assessment guide that each evaluator is using.
Yes.
And usually it's got like, how did they do on brag, which is part of Bring Magic, and how did they do on...
Again with the acronyms.
Oh, right.
Brag.
And
Gigman.
And we might evaluate on this. You get a 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 1 through 4 on this, and then one thing that's really important during the role play.
Okay.
They're going along. I'm teaching you how to play basketball, right?
Yes.
I'm teaching you how to do this, and then you stop me and say, "Hold on, pause."
Hold on.
And then you give me some feedback. And
I love how you're breaking it down, and I love the fact that you told us we get an incentive if we learn this, and then
you say, "Hey, I noticed you didn't give an incentive.
Okay.
In this next 2 minutes, I want to see you reward someone."
Oh, yes, yeah. So I love that you're breaking it down, but I've noticed that when I've gotten each part that you've broken down, you didn't celebrate me.
Okay.
So I need you to celebrate me when I get it.
Okay. And then what you want to do is see if that student will incorporate your feedback. Whether they're prepared isn't the most important thing. It's really more important if they have potential. If you can see potential. They took your feedback. They didn't get super defensive. They didn't, they were able to receive it. So again, all of this is just I just want to pause here because I've had so many times 5 or 10 years later when I'm looking at a team and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember your interview, I remember your role play. And it's just like, it's magic to know that this kid in front of you, his life is going to be changed because this starting point that you're doing right then.
Yes. And
it isn't about how perfect their role play is. It's like, this is a fork in the road moment for a lot of kids. I mean, maybe talk about that for you.
Yeah, so like I told y'all, when I was doing my quiz, I literally saw my supervisor at the time. Well, she wasn't my supervisor yet, but she wrote "not prepared" and like circled it really big. And I was like, yeah, I'm not getting the job. I was so confident that I wasn't gonna get the job. But then I ended up getting the job. And once I came into that job, I felt like I needed to go hard every single day because I felt like I really didn't deserve this job, but I got it anyways. So I'm gonna go hard and I'm gonna try to learn as much as I can. And I was actually gonna get to this point anyways. Everything that he's been saying, to the stopping them, live coaching and everything, all of those things are useful in life, like in general, in school, and all of that. Like, people like to see how much you can retain and you can use. So all of those skills were useful, and I used them in a lot of other different places, and I became a leader really quickly in other aspects of my life. such as home, such as school, such as programs that I were in, they all saw something in me because of this foundation that New City Kids set for me. So
it's this magical fork in the road kind of weekend that it's I don't know, there's a sacredness or a heaviness to it.
yeah.
Okay, so then you finish up, you all have the same assessment documents so that you can do apples to apples later, on day 3 or at the end of day 2, however you do it.
Yeah.
Then we do the interview, and I included a sample interview form with 7 questions.
Okay.
Some of the questions that I like to ask are like, how did you hear about New City, just to loosen them up,
Yeah.
And then we often talk about what job would you like to do at New City. You've seen some different things, and just get them to talk, right?
Yeah. Yep.
One question I always put in there, and I don't know if someone asked you this, but can you tell me about a hard thing you've been through in your life and how you handled it?
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Okay.
I was like, that's the one question that I remember actually.
Okay.
And it's funny because me and my cousin, we both talked about our fathers being absent in our lives. We talked about our fathers being absent and how we've overcome that, and how we didn't let it hold us back from being how great we are destined to be. So
That's powerful.
Yep.
And that is, for me, like the breakthrough moment of every interview. It tells you like which kid really needs the job, and which kid is kind of supple or open or vulnerable or willing to share. And it's okay if they're not yet. Doesn't mean we're not going to hire them, but it's a special thing.
Yep.
You ask for their strengths and weaknesses. Also, you want to go back to this, and you want to, the things you taught in your interview session, you want to see if they've learned.
Yep.
Look people in the eye, shake their hand, don't talk too much, don't talk too little, and so on.
Okay. And yeah, is there anything else that you think we should have? Let me see. ITO. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the ending. So
Yeah, the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do is, this is kind of a tricky part right here. Depends, I sometimes do this right here, and that is, if you're ending on day 2, and you know you're not gonna interview all 20 kids or whatever, I sometimes have a little slip of paper that I sneakily, give to a kid, and it says, your interview tomorrow is at 3 o'clock or whatever. And that way, you avoid the group drama. And but you do say to everybody, hey, we'll reach out to you, we'll let you know if we're gonna interview you, and if we don't feel like it's over, all hope is lost. Remember, you can volunteer, you can come back next year, those kinds of things.
Yes. And also one more role right here, decision making.
Yes, we're gonna talk about that.
Oh, all
That's
right.
section 3.
All right.
That's
I'm-
the whole, that's a third video.
Look, I'm trying to get y'all ready
No,
like
we
right
gotta-
now today. Like we need
I need a break.
What?
First.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Water.
Be right back.